SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man, way past 21.
Good morning. Monday morning. It's the start of a new week. This is Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi. Thanks for joining us. Bright and early on a Monday morning, I tell you that the C Spire text line is open. That number is 601-879-4395. Love to have you jump into the conversation. What's on your mind this morning? Hope the weekend was a good one for you. Big week coming up if you are a sports fan in Mississippi, as I think most of us are. Not all of us, but most of us. Every sports fan can tell you fast speeds win games. It's why C Spire brings you fiber home internet nationwide, 5G wireless, and IT solutions that move as fast as your business. Learn more at cspire.com. C Spire, inspired by you. I don't know how growing up and living in a college town, university town, and then on top of that being a sports guy for most of my life, whether I was working in it or playing sports as a kid or whatever, there were two kind of calendars. There was the calendar that, years ago maybe your mom hung on the inside of a cabinet door in the kitchen. And, each month you'd flip it and there'd be some things that were to do on the calendar and family birthdays and whatever else. At the end of the month, you turn the page. There was that kind of calendar. And then there was the academic/sports calendar. And somewhere along the way, probably in high school, that's how I learned to mark time. I wonder if any of you do that as well. Like, yeah, what do we got going this weekend? Well, what's this weekend? Oh, it's the LSU game. Oh, yeah, there's that thing that we've got to go to on Thursday, and the kids have got this on Friday, and yeah. Or you get to mid-February, and it's like, what have you got the second weekend of February? Oh, Valentine's Day? No, not. Oh, it's opening weekend of baseball. I don't know why that popped into my head this morning, but that's where we are, right? We are moving toward the final week of the month of September, which means fall's just around the corner. For a lot of people, that means hunting season is just barely around the corner. Moving toward week 5 of the college football season means we're about 3, is that right? October, November, 3 months away from the start of a new legislative session. I don't know, the academic calendar works for me. Lance, you just get up and work and don't even worry about what the calendar says, do you?
Yeah, I haven't worn a watch, and I can't even remember. I don't even have a calendar. But I do remember.
No watch?
I don't even have a watch. I mean, you got a watch everywhere in our business.
Yeah, that's true.
So, no, I mean, I've always, been like August 16th, birthday. That's kind of getting ready for fall, and that's kind of my little significant moment in time would be, middle of August. That's always been nostalgic to like going back to school, and then you get all of the holidays are lining up. Boom, 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 and then
it's like the beginning of the school year is like the beginning of the year.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I always saw it. You can say January 1, but it seems to me most of what we do is centered around June, July, August, kind of getting rolling. And then you flip the script there in January. But I'm kind of like you. The academic calendar, it's kind of always when football season's here, baseball season's here. It may have been because I played sports and hunted and all that stuff. But
I know.
Yeah, how that's we relate, though.
That is the calendar on which it feels like we operate. All right, how's the weather going to be? Good news. Later this week, it's going to cool off a little bit, but not so much today. Fulton, you've got a mix of clouds and sun this morning, followed by cloudy skies later today. A stray shower or thunderstorm possible. High of around 89. Winds out of the south at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Mathiston, some sun this morning, increasing clouds this afternoon. Stray shower or thunderstorm possible. We got a couple of those in the area yesterday. High near 90, winds out of the south, 5 to 10. Summerall, high of 92 for you with partly cloudy skies today. Breezy out of the south, southeast. Poplarville, you've got sunshine. Going to have some clouds mixed in, 91 degrees for your high. Out of the winds coming to you out of the southeast. A little bit breezier, though. 10 to 15 miles per hour with those in Poplarville today. Michael Faraday was born on this day in 1791. Had an invention that feels like it was kind of a big deal. He discovered electromagnetic induction, invented the first electric motor. Born in Newington Butts, England. The electric motor feels like a fairly significant innovation, right? 1909, Alan Rocky Lane was born. He was an American Western cowboy actor. Perhaps you remember him as the voice of Mr. Ed. Hello, I'm Mr. Ed.
Yeah, I didn't know that. You got me on that with Rocky Lane.
Rocky Lane. That was not like one of the highlighted things, but as I was reading through, I was like, I feel like I watched a lot of Mr. Ed on Nickelodeon as a kid.
Yeah, I did too. So that, I didn't know there was, you don't even think about it. Like there's a guy making those sounds.
Yeah.
Just a horse, of course.
Tommy Lasorda, born on this day in 1927, the Hall of Fame manager, World Series titles with the Dodgers in both 1981 and 1988. Twice he was named National League Manager of the Year, 83 and 88. Managed the Dodgers from 76 to 96, born in Norristown, Pennsylvania. Tommy Lasorda passed away in 2021, but born on this day, September 22nd in 1927. Had a reputation in his retirement years for being a baseball guy that would go just about anywhere and speak to just about any organization as a fundraiser to help them do what they needed to do, raise the money for their booster club, their bases loaded club, their diamond club, whatever they called it. Spoke at a bunch of first pitch banquets. Similar to Ron Polk in that regard. Yeah. They ask and, would cover the cost of him getting there, then generally speaking, he would come.
Ron Polk didn't make it into the Fletch Hall of Fame, though. When Fletch, he's getting interrogated. He goes, I hate Tommy Lasorda. Boom, and busts the picture in the sheriff's office.
A couple more birthdays for you. September 22nd was kind of light on birthdays. One of Lance Tolbert's favorites, Andrea Bocelli.
Oh, yeah.
Born on this day in 1958. The Italian tenor, 67 years old.
Is he one of the three tenors?
He is.
Yeah.
He is.
I have a poster with all three of them that signed it.
Really?
Yeah. I love the three tenors, man.
Where'd you get that?
Just long story, but a friend of the family who...
Did you hear them in concert?
No, I didn't. I wish I would have, but he had worked in that field and had gone and produced one of the concerts or was part of it and got the poster and had him sign it for me, which was mighty nice.
There you go.
Yeah. That was when their heyday, when they were touring as the three tenors.
Yeah. Bocelli and Pavarotti and Carreras. Jose Carreras, which a couple of those guys got into, or maybe it was just one of them.
Another
got into a little trouble.
Significant day in Italian history. Like 1859, I believe it said it was this day in history where 1870, where Rome was actually incorporated into the Italian world. Before then, it had just done its own thing.
Roma.
Yeah.
Vince Coleman, born on 1961. I was scrolling through and I saw his name and I said, hey, that's a guy that I feel like was part of my youth.
Yeah.
Outfielder in the big leagues. He was Rookie of the Year. 6-time National League stolen base leader, 2-time All-Star with Cardinals and the Mets, 4 other teams in his career, originally born in Jacksonville, Florida. Vince Coleman.
Anybody faster than Henderson, do you think Coleman was, or was Ricky the better base stealer?
No, I'd go Ricky Henderson.
Yeah, that dude was just something, man. Mm-hmm. He'd be standing on third before you knew it.
Yeah. 1692, the last 8 people are hanged for allegedly practicing witchcraft as a result of the Salem witch trials in Massachusetts Bay Colony. Overall, 19 hanged, with 6 other deaths caused by hysteria. Don't know that Salem witch trials, greatest time in history for this continent. We got more coming up with you. Just getting started. We'll look at some other things that happened on this day, get to some news headlines, some sports headlines, a lottery update coming up in a little while as well. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. Thanks for joining us.
From the Venable Glass Traffic Center with 2 locations serving you. They're in Ridgeland on 51 North and in Brandon at 209 Woodgate Drive. Cross Gates, just call 601-605-4443 for all your glass needs. Looking good so far this morning. No wrecks or breakdowns, no major congestion. Contend with. Trust your heavy haul transportation needs to Southeastern Services. With years of experience hauling and operating heavy equipment, you can trust their team to handle your job with confidence. Southeastern Services, where trust meets the road. Call 601-292-9932.
Hi, I'm Josh Quick, the owner of Mid-South Crawlspace Solutions, formerly known as Clean Space of Central Mississippi. Our name may have changed, but our expertise remains. An unhealthy crawl space can invite mold, bugs, and buckling floors. This affects not only your crawl space, but compromises the health of your entire home. Our Clean Space system will transform your crawl space into a dry, healthy, clean environment that will save you energy and money. No more moisture, no more mold, no more smells. Still doing free estimates at mscrawlspace.com.
Be sure and check out the newly remodeled Basil's in Fondren, where you get simple food done well. And don't forget to drop by Basil's Fountain View at the Renaissance. Go to eatbasils.com for online ordering for both locations. That's Basil's.
Hey, I'm here with Alex Murray of Auto Innovation.
At Auto Innovation, we want to change your car buying experience. When you're in the market for a quality pre-owned vehicle, please come see us. We want to make friends, not just customers. All eligible vehicles are inspected by a MasterTech mechanic and come with a limited powertrain warranty on us. We are located on Highway 51 in Ridgeland. Come by and see us or check out our inventory online at autoinnovation.net. Let us change your car buying experience.
Auto Innovation, Highway 51 in Ridgeland.
Why don't you mind your own business?
Mind my own business? What's that supposed to mean?
No, I was just thinking about all of the news of tax changes, insurance changes, regulations that are being passed down to business owners. I don't have the time to keep growing and to keep up with changing payroll regulations.
I know. It seems like all I do is handle employee-related problems.
You know, I hear People Lease can help.
How can they help?
People Lease can handle our payroll, taxes, employee benefits, and workers' compensation. They even offer an affordable and customizable 401k program and a 24/7 online human resources support center for all my HR needs.
Think of all the time we'll save letting People Lease handle our payroll and benefits administration. I'll be busy growing my business and letting People Lease take care of the rest.
Sounds like a good business plan with People Lease.
Let People Lease mind your business so you can mind your own business. Call now, 601-987-3025. That's 601-987-3025. Or visit freepayrollquotes.com for your free quote.
Hey, this is Bob, and if you're like me, you like dealing with local people. Majestic Metals was founded in Mississippi in 1954 and are headquartered right in Gluckstadt. For complete metal building systems and steel roofing and siding, call the hometown folks. Majestic Metals, 800-647-8540 or online at majesticmetalsinc.com.
Super Talk Outdoors with Ricky Matthews. Mondays at noon on the Super Talk Mississippi app and always on your local Super Talk station. Talk Mississippi.
You're moving a little slow this morning. I forgive you. I might be moving a little slow myself this morning. Start of a new week. We're going to get the pep in our step as we get that extra cup of coffee in us this morning and get off and rolling. Alongside Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross. Glad to be with you. 1761, it was the coronation of King George III and Queen Charlotte of the United Kingdom. Now, the early years of his reign saw some military success. Victory of Great Britain in the 7 Years' War, and Britain became the dominant power in Europe and in Africa. The success of this offset, however, by the loss of the American colonies. Turned out to be a pretty big deal. That was after the Declaration of Independence in 1776 and the subsequent Revolutionary War, all on King George III's watch. In 1815, Britain's forces in Europe defeated Napoleon Bonaparte at the Battle of Waterloo. George's historical reputation has undergone changes over the years. In his lifetime, he was considered a tyrant by the American colonies and is primarily remembered in the UK as the king who lost the colonies, which I don't know that that's how you really want to be remembered. I feel like George's reputation has been softened a bit in the post-Hamilton years. You know, Hamilton cast him as kind of a silly fellow with some fun, whimsical songs, and all of a sudden everybody kind of liked King George. I don't know. You a big King George guy? One way or the other?
Not a big King fan, period. But, you know, as you say, the musical, though, kind of brought him back, huh? In a more favorable light. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind the monarchy. I just don't celebrate it too much. You know, they weren't the greatest folks. If I know my history,
if you were a king,
I mean, if I
you
was
might
a
like
king,
the monarchy a little more.
Yeah. If I was a king, if I came from the royal bloodline and was inheriting all that money, I'd probably be a little bit more favorable.
I don't know. I feel like Sir Lance rings a little better than King Lance. Not that King wouldn't be a better title.
No, I like King better. Yeah, I
figured you would. This day in 1911, the Boston Rustlers' future Hall of Fame pitcher Cy Young defeated the Pittsburgh Pirates 1-0. Forbes Field, that was for his final career victory, number 511. 511 career wins for Cy Young. You know what today was? Today was a huge day in history, for debuts of television shows. By the way, thank you for the reminder this morning on the C Spire text line. Happy first day of fall to you. Today at 1:19, we will officially have the autumnal equinox, and fall will be here. Hoping the temperatures will cooperate.
Yeah, please come on with it.
All right, so first day of fall, you had 1976 Charlie's Angels debuts with Farrah Fawcett, Kate Jackson, Jacqueline Smith, and John Forsythe. 6 years later, 1982, the premiere of Family Ties with Michael J. Fox. 5 years after that, 1987, the premiere of Full House. Bob Saget, John Stamos, Candace Cameron, the whole crew at Full House. 2 years after that, 1989, it was the TV drama Baywatch, starring David Hasselhoff and Pamela Anderson. That one premiered on NBC. And then in 1994, Friends made its debut, starring Jennifer Aniston, Courtney Cox, Lisa Kudrow, Matt LeBlanc, Matthew Perry, David Schwimmer. What a run it had on NBC. And then 5 years after that, do you remember this one? The West Wing, created by Alan Sorkin, starring Martin Sheen, Rob Lowe, Richard Schiff. It premiered on NBC.
So what you're saying is if you want a hit show, you need to, this exact
day
in history.
September 22nd.
Yeah, this is
kind of
the
day to give you a shot, give you a chance. I'm sure that September 22nd was one, like, we're in a week-long period where if you launch a new show, this is when in the fall you do it, like historically, and so probably got a bunch of those over the next few days. That's a pretty good run, though, for September 22nd. There were a couple I didn't include. Lost debuted, premiered on this day. And then on September 22nd, 1997, Elton John released the song Candle in the Wind, a tribute to Diana, Princess of Wales, released it in the United States. Candle in the Wind, just another one of his big hits. 601-879-4395 if you want to join the conversation. This we got some news headlines for you. Let's jump into that. MUW, Mississippi University for Women, the W, #1 ranking, and it's not the first time. Ranked #1 by registerednursing.org for the best nursing program, best nursing school in the state. Rankings evaluate programs using the National Council Licensure Exam for registered nurses. That has an acronym, but it's almost impossible to pronounce, so that's not a good acronym. NCLEX, RN, I guess it's not that impossible. Anyway, on their passage rate for the exam that they use, 99.36%. That's the highest in Mississippi. Among the tops in the nations, taking the number 39 spot out of 760 nursing schools that were reviewed. You want to be a nurse? You want to pass the test? The W might just be the spot for you. But perhaps you need to protect your valuables. Why? A former university police officer and corrections officer at the W has been arrested on theft charges. According to the Lowndes County Sheriff's Department, Michael Malott has been charged with felony embezzlement. He worked at the W in Columbus, accused of stealing a handheld radio, a bulletproof vest, and a badge upon resigning from his position. Malott was a corrections officer at the Lowndes County Adult Detention Center at the time of his arrest, but is no longer employed by the jail. By the way, I was just trying to make a segue and tie those two stories together. You do not have to be worried about your personal belongings. If you're in nursing school at the W, we got another story regarding someone associated with the W. There it is. So he's in trouble because he took a vest and a badge and a radio. I'm assuming he'd be really in trouble if he had tried to take a gun also, but did not apparently do that. We have, for a while now, been hearing about the sale or the takeover or the shutting down of TikTok. Where are we today? Well, China just got another extension. And Donald Trump says there are some Americans who are going to be involved. Prominent billionaires, including media mogul Rupert Murdoch, along with tech founder Michael Dell, could be part of a deal in which the United States will take control of the social video platform TikTok. Trump name-dropping the 94-year-old Murdoch and his son Lachlan, who's now running Fox News, as part of a group of possible participants in a deal. In an interview that aired on Fox News yesterday, it was recorded on Friday, he says, I think they're going to be in the group, a couple of others, really great people, very prominent people, and they're also American patriots. They love this country. I think they're going to do a really good job. His disclosure of the potential involvement of the Murdochs and Dell was in addition to the fact that he had already mentioned Oracle CEO and founder Larry Ellison, who is currently the second richest man in the world. Much is still unknown, though, about the actual deal that is in the works. Trump discussed the TikTok deal with Chinese President Xi in a lengthy phone call on Friday. Chinese and United States officials have until December 16th to hash out the details, following the latest deadline extension by the Trump administration. Sports headlines are on the way. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about Charlie Kirk's memorial service yesterday. Lance, you watch any of that?
Oh, yeah. In and out, but I was on Twitter with it pretty much all evening, checking up on it.
Yeah. I watched a fair amount of it. I didn't have just the entire afternoon where I could sit on the couch and watch nonstop, but man, some really, really powerful moments. We'll tell you about some of those when we come back. MRC with you on Super Talk Mississippi. Good Monday morning.
From the Seabrook dot.
I try to call you, but on the midnight watch I realize why twice you ran away. Think about how many times I have fallen. Spirits are using me, the larger voice is calling. Whatever brought you and me cannot be forgotten.
Always good to hear from Hogman on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. Hogman is he's a fellow of a lot of interest, varying interest, but he's got the Hogs on his mind this morning. Lancey says, looking for a football coach.
Yeah. After getting beat by Memphis, it might be on the horizon sooner than later.
We'll get to some sports headlines in just a moment. First, though, we look back yesterday at the Charlie Kirk Memorial. President Trump, top leaders of the conservative movement, the Republican Party, paid tribute to Charlie Kirk in Glendale, Arizona. Tens of thousands showed up. The 31-year-old founder of Turning Point USA honored with worship, music, and speeches from friends, colleagues, and a number of members of the Trump administration. A number of conservative dignitaries were in attendance, along with those tens of thousands of people filling the football stadium near Phoenix. 2 planes came from the White House, Air Force One and Air Force Two. J.D. Vance flying on a separate plane from the president with dozens of White House staff and cabinet members. Elon Musk attended yesterday, sitting next to Donald Trump for part of the service. Charlie Kirk, by the way, a big advocate of a reconciliation between the President of the United States and the richest man in the world. The memorial began with key members of Turning Point USA discussing what is next for the organization, which has chapters on college campuses and in high schools. Stacy Sheridan, top official at Turning Point, said to Charlie, "We're going to make TPUSA so big that it reaches you in heaven." Erica Kirk, the wife of the late Charlie Kirk, was named the new CEO and chairman of the board at Turning Point last week. Since since Kirk's death last week, 12 days ago now, Turning Point USA has received more than 62,000 requests from high school and college students nationwide to either start a chapter or get involved with an existing chapter. We're going to get to some of the clips from that to start the 7 o'clock hour. It was a powerful day yesterday. Whether you watched the whole thing or you just caught highlights of it on X, there was a lot of good stuff. It's time for your morning sports update, brought to you by Pearl River Resort. Find them online at pearlriverresort.com. Your home for casino thrills, family fun, and live entertainment. 3-0 Ole Miss hosted 3-0 Tulane at Vaught Hemingway Stadium on Saturday afternoon. It was Ole Miss in dominating fashion, getting a 45-10 win over the Green Wave, handing them their first loss of the year. Ole Miss improved to 4-0. They've won all 3 of their home games. Trinidad Chambliss was outstanding once again for the Rebels, 17 of 27 throwing the football for 307 yards and 2 touchdowns through the air. He also carried the ball 14 times for 112 yards, averaging 8 yards per carry. Kejuan Lacey had a couple of rushing touchdowns. Logan Diggs had a rushing touchdown as well for Ole Miss. The starting quarterback and the backup quarterback for Tulane, Jake Retzloff and Brendan Sullivan, respectively, combined to go 10 for 29 for just 104 yards through the air with a touchdown and an interception. They did have some success running the ball at 178 yards on the ground. Ole Miss, 307 yards through the air, 241 on the ground, receiving touchdowns for both Deuce Alexander and Daquan Wright. C-Spire text line, tell me a quarterback who has ever looked better in his first 2 starts than Trinidad Chambliss has for Ole Miss.
Hard to pick one of those, especially if you're talking about an Ole Miss quarterback.
Yeah.
I couldn't name one, but I mean, Eli looked great, but he wasn't putting 100 yards up on the ground, you know. I mean,
no, he was not, and I doubt he went for 300 in his first 2 games throwing the football either.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's been. It's like, thank you for coming from Ferris State. We definitely needed him,
no doubt. Mississippi State moved to 4-0 for the first time since 2014 with a 38-10 win over Northern Illinois. Bulldogs pitched a shutout in the second half, outscoring the Huskies of NIU 24-0 in the second half. It was a tight game at the halftime, 14-10. Not a huge offensive day, at least not through the air for Mississippi State. Blake Shapen had a touchdown pass. He was 12 of 20 for 160 yards. On the ground, though, Mississippi State, 292 yards rushing. 101 yards from Fluff Bothwell. Blake Shapen ran it for 51. Xavier Guyton had a touchdown and 45 yards on the ground. Couple of rushing touchdowns for Devon Booth on 7 carries. Anthony Evans led the way for the wide receivers with 4 catches for 80 yards in the game. So Mississippi State moves to 4-0 on the year. Southern Miss was in action in Ruston, Louisiana. And the Golden Eagles dropped their second game of the year to fall to 2-2 on the season. Braylon Braxton threw for 392 yards and a pair of scores, but he was picked off one time as well. So 392 passing yards, 122 on the ground. Couldn't get the running game going. Louisiana Tech led at 17-10 after the first quarter, but 13 second quarter points proved to be the difference. Southern Miss did not allow a score in the second half. They outscored the Bulldogs of Louisiana Tech 10-0 in the second half, but it was not enough to overcome the deficit, 30-20 the final. And so when you look ahead to this coming weekend, it is a big one. Top 15 matchup in Oxford, with Ole Miss hosting LSU at 2:30 on ABC. Tennessee is in Starkville to take on Mississippi State. 3:15 the kickoff for that game. It'll be televised on the SEC Network. And Southern Miss is at home on Saturday night. 6 o'clock kickoff. Not tip-off, wrong sport. Kickoff for Southern Miss hosting Jacksonville State. Game will be on ESPN Plus if you want to watch and cannot be there.
You know, one thing about State, you got to win games like that, right? You're not going to win them all pretty. And when you got a big one coming up like Tennessee, that could have been a little trap game. So when you actually go out and execute, play well enough to win, and you didn't play your best, that's always a good sign. And, you know, Southern, they're just not there yet. The running game's light. And
yep.
Yeah, they just don't have it yet as far as having that depth. But you can see State in year 2 under Levy look so much more confident. Even in days where they're not playing the best, they still look very solid.
New AP Top 25 is out. Ohio State stays put at number 1. Miami, with 7 first-place votes, moves up to number 2 after their win at home on Saturday night against the Florida Gators. Penn State drops a spot to number 3. They are 3-0 this year. LSU dropped a spot despite their win over Southeastern Louisiana. They are 4-0. Georgia is number 5. They had an open date this weekend. Other SEC teams in the top 25, Oklahoma at number 7 after a big and somewhat controversial win over Auburn. Texas A&M was off this weekend. They are now 3-0, or they are 3-0 and moved up a spot to number 9. Texas is number 10, dropped a couple of spots after their win 3-1 to start the year. Ole Miss stays put at number 13 despite the win on Saturday. Tennessee still number 15. You got Alabama at 17. Vanderbilt moving up a couple of spots after hanging 70 in their win.
Has Vanderbilt ever scored 70?
Well, they did on Saturday. But I don't know the answer to your question. Ranked 18th in the country. Missouri is 20th. And Mississippi State just outside the top 25. Auburn would be 26. Mississippi State would be 27. And a quick peek at yesterday's scores from around the NFL. Finishing off with Sunday Night Football, you had the Colts and the Chiefs both winless, and it's the Chiefs that got the first win of the year, 22-9. Browns over the Packers. Colts smoked the Titans 41-20. Vikings big over the Cincinnati Bengals 48-10 in the win. Steelers 21-14 over the Patriots. Eagles beat the Rams. Buccaneers 29-27 over the New York Jets. That was an exciting one. Commanders beat the Raiders. Panthers 30-0 over the Falcons, who fall to 1-2. First win of the season for the Carolina Panthers. Jags beat the Texans 17-10. Chargers over the Broncos. Seahawks 44. Saints 13. Eesh. New Orleans 0-3 on the year. Chicago Bears roasted the Dallas Cowboys yesterday, 31-14, the final in Chicago. And the San Francisco 49ers, a 16-15 win over the Cardinals. Monday Night Football coming your way tonight. It's the Detroit Lions in Baltimore to take on the Baltimore Ravens.
My boy, I've got to watch some Lamar tonight.
There you go. Those are your sports headlines brought to you by Pearl River Resort. Find them online at pearlriverresort.com. Quick timeout. We're back with you. Mississippi Lottery update and more. Right after this, Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi.
From the
time for your Mississippi Lottery update, brought to you by the Mississippi Lottery. Find them online at mslottery.com. Your estimated jackpot for tonight's Powerball drawing, $113 million with a cash value of $52.5 million.
You know who else looked forward to it? Because he knew. I'd tell him a little bit about what was...
Sorry, didn't mean to press that button. Hit the wrong one. Mega Millions, got to wait one more day for the next big jackpot drawing. $451 million at stake tomorrow night with an estimated cash value of $208,700,000. The numbers from Friday night's drawing were 2, 22, 27, 42, and 58. The Mega Ball was 8. Last week, the Lottery Claims Office paid out nearly $265,000, while retailers paid out almost $4.8 million. That is your Mississippi Lottery update, brought to you by the Mississippi Lottery. The website is mslottery.com, mslottery.com. Richard Cross, Lance Tolbert with you. Coming up this morning, 7 o'clock hour, we're going to start things off with some clips from the Charlie Kirk Memorial and Remembrance yesterday. Play some of what Marco Rubio had to say. I've never heard a message like the one the Secretary of State delivered from somebody in that public position of power before. Really powerful message from Stacey Sheridan, who was one of the senior leaders at Turning Point USA. And then, of course, Erica Kirk herself spoke such a moving and courageous speech from her yesterday. Early viewership numbers, Lance, from that, this according to Turning Point, Andrew Colvette, who was executive producer of the Charlie Kirk Show, said our production and streaming partners tracked over 100 million overall streams for today's tribute to Charlie. That is just what they know about. It's likely much larger. Over 100 million people just heard the gospel proclaimed again and again by speaker after speaker. Truly remarkable. This was all for Charlie. 100 million people.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I watched the live stream on the, I guess, Turning Point Twitter feed for a little while, and there were, I don't know, this was fairly early on, and there were about 500,000, maybe 600,000 people that were watching there. I watched YouTube TV. It was kind of on the go yesterday. Had the homecoming parade for Oxford High School last night, and so that took up some of the time yesterday afternoon. Couldn't just sit and watch it nonstop, but really, really good stuff. Later in the 7 o'clock hour, Dr. Martin Tucker and Dr. Rachael Morris will join us. We're going to talk with them about a pretty serious and honestly pretty heavy topic, and that is about infant mortality rates and the Infant Mortality Task Force in Mississippi. Dr. Tucker is chair of Obstetrics and Gynecology at UMMC. Dr. Rachael Morris is a maternal-fetal specialist at UMMC as well. And there was a statement that Dr. Dan Edney, our state health officer, made last week that said improving maternal health is the best way to reduce infant mortality. We'll talk with them a little bit about why that statement was made by Dr. Edney and what's going on in that area. JT Mitchell will join us in the 8 o'clock hour as well, third hour of the show, as he always does. And we look forward to visiting with JT. C-Spire text line is open. 601-879-4395. 601-879-4395. CC in Senatobia, he says, I almost feel sorry for state fans. 4-0 start on the cusp of being ranked in the top 25 for the first time since the Titanic sank. Well, that's exaggerating, CC. He says, and now the reality of 8 SEC games in a row sets in. That part of it is true. Price of poker goes up big time this week for Mississippi State. Thomas in Greenwood asked about Tucker Carlson's message yesterday at the Charlie Kirk Memorial Service. There are a lot of people that had a lot of thoughts about Tucker Carlson yesterday. I don't know if we'll get to his remarks or not. Maybe. I didn't see it. I thought it was kind of vintage Tucker Carlson in his kind of giggly, laughs at his own jokes message. Was there something hidden in what he said? Was it even hidden at all? Or was it just Tucker kind of with his very different delivery style than everybody else? I don't know. I'm not so sure that what people are saying about what Tucker had to say is as crazy as people thought. We're back with you after this. 7 o'clock hours next, right after the news.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
From the White House to your hometown, this is where you find out what's happening. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Seven o'clock hour. Good morning to you as you get your day started. First day of fall, the autumnal equinox That sounds so much more formal than first day of fall.
Very astronomical.
Yeah. Not going to feel super like fall today, but it's going to get better as the week goes along.
Let's hope so, brother, because I'm done with the 95 and just complete. Everything's cooked down here. I don't know about up there, but
a little crispy.
Everything's crispy. I don't know how much of a fall it's going to be with the leaves because the trees are just dropping them.
Yeah.
You light a match out there right now, it's going up.
Yeah. I was looking at the 10-day forecast for Oxford, where I am. And once we get to Wednesday, a couple of days with highs in the upper 70s. Looks like low 80s for the weekend. But it's going to be a while before we get into that consistent, mid-upper 70s for the high temperatures and really starts to feel nice. This hour of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is tough, and if you're struggling with HR, benefits, and payroll, you're not alone. That's where MWG Employer Services comes in. They can provide a full range of employer services plus a custom plan that fits you. Give them a call today. Their number, 601-206-7966, or online, MWGEmployerServices.com. The lineup of speakers yesterday at the Charlie Kirk Tribute and Memorial Service in Phoenix was incredible. You had colleagues at Turning Point USA, colleagues in the conservative movement, people that were close to him from a pastoral standpoint that spoke. And then you got into kind of the administration with a number of different people taking to the microphone, including Secretary of War Pete Hegseth and Vice President J.D. Vance, and, of course, Donald Trump, the president, spoke yesterday. The guy, though, that maybe stuck out to me more than any other was Secretary of State Marco Rubio. He began by talking about his relationship from about a dozen years ago with Charlie Kirk. He said, I had someone that came to me and said, hey, there's this young guy, and he wants to go onto college campuses and push the conservative movement. He said he wants to rally people around the United States being the greatest country in the world, and he wants to speak out against Marxism. And Rubio's response to that was, wow, he's going to go to college campuses? Why didn't he pick an easier place to start, like communist Cuba? Got a little bit of a laugh line there. Rubio talked about the work of Charlie Kirk, about who he was as a person. And then at the end of his speech, for about the last minute and a half, I was listening to this live as it happened. And as Marco Rubio went through this, I thought, I don't know that I have ever heard someone in a public position of leadership, especially at the level of Secretary of State, speak this openly and this passionately about the gospel. That is exactly what Marco Rubio did at the end of his speech yesterday.
I hope one of the things they take from this is that the movement Charlie Kirk led and started and gave fuel to was about politics, but not only about politics. It was deeper. It was broader. And I would say that, taking the liberty, but I'm confident he would agree, one of the things he wants us to take away from this, from all of this, is the following. His deep belief that we were all created, every single one of us, before the beginning of time, by the hands of the God of the universe, an all-powerful God, who loved us and created us for the purpose of living with Him in eternity. But then sin entered the world and separated us from our Creator. And so God took on the form of a man and came down and lived among us. And He suffered like men. And He died like a man. But on the third day He rose unlike any mortal man. And to prove any doubters wrong, He ate with His disciples so they could see, and they touched His wounds. He didn't rise as a ghost or as a spirit, but as flesh. And then he rose to the heaven, but he promised he would return. And he will. And when he returns, because he took on that death, because he carried that cross, we were freed from the sin that separated us from him. And when he returns, there will be a new heaven and a new earth, and we will all be together, and we are going to have a great reunion there again with Charlie and all the people we love. Thank you, and God bless you.
That was Marco Rubio yesterday. And I don't know that there's any preacher from any pulpit who has ever given a more thorough and concise telling of the gospel than what Marco Rubio did in front of 60, 70,000 people inside that football stadium with reportedly 100 million people in total watching that yesterday. I mean, I was streaming it on my phone at that point, and I just paused it, and I said, wow. I mean, because there was a lot of talk yesterday about faith and about Charlie's vision and about, connection with the gospel and the fact that his death had started a movement, had created a revival that people never could have imagined. But Marco Rubio, he took it to another level with his message yesterday. Another one of the people that spoke was Stacey Sheridan. Now, Stacey is not nearly as common, as much of a household name as a lot of the people that spoke yesterday. But she shared a really compelling story. She went to work for Turning Point USA around 2020, I think it was. And a couple of years after working there, her husband was diagnosed with cancer. And she talked about how Charlie and his wife Erica had been there for her and her young daughter, who was 9 years old at the time, as they dealt with her husband facing that cancer diagnosis. He ultimately died 2 years later. And she was having to try and be a mother to her young daughter and get her through this and deal with all of the questions with that. And then a couple of years after that, Stacey Sheridan and her daughter lost their home in the Pacific Palisades fire. And she said she reached out to Charlie and she asked, what do we do now? He said, it's a sign that it's time for you to move to Arizona. And she came to Turning Point USA's headquarters there. And then she talked about a conversation with her daughter in the aftermath of Charlie's death.
While enduring our various tragedies, my daughter Grace would ask me at least once a day, why would God do this to us, Mom? My honest and only answer was, someday we will look at each other and instantly know why all of this had to happen. And it will be for something far greater than we can ever imagine. In my first conversation with Grace after Charlie's death, Grace said to me through tears over the phone, Mom, this is the answer to my question. This is our why. Now we can be there for Erica and Gigi and Mac the way they were there for us.
From the mouth of babes, right? A question that all of us who are believers have asked somewhere along the way. Some version, some variation of why do bad things happen to good people? It's the most difficult question to wrestle with for most people in their faith journey, in their relationship with God. Why? Why do bad things happen to good people? Why did this cancer diagnosis come down? Why did these children die? And we don't have good answers for that. Stacey Sheridan said, we're going to have the answer to that one day. And then it was her daughter who said, we now have our answer. It's so that we can be there for Erica and Mac and Gigi in the way that they were there for us in our hard times. What an incredible message as part of the Charlie Kirk Memorial Service yesterday. Glad to be with you on this Monday morning. We've got more coming up. Doctors Martin Tucker and Rachael Morris will join us on the other side of this break. MRC, Mornings of Richard Cross with you right here on Super Talk, Mississippi.
From the
Me.
And I don't feel nothing at all. And you can't feel nothing small.
Glad to have you along for the ride with us this morning. Mornings with Richard Cross alongside Lance Tolbert. I'm Richard Cross. Thanks for joining us. I'm happy to welcome our first guests of this new week on this Monday morning. Doctors Martin Tucker and Rachael Morris join us to start the conversation. Kind of a heavy conversation, if we're going to be completely honest, right out of the gate, first thing on Monday morning. Dr. Dan Edney is the state health officer and has recently sounded the alarm on infant mortality in Mississippi, calling it a public health emergency, and points to the fact that improving maternal health is the best way to reduce infant mortality. Dr. Tucker is chair of Obstetrics and Gynecology at UMMC. Dr. Morris is a maternal-fetal specialist at UMMC as well. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Let me ask, and I'm going to leave this open-ended for whichever one of you wants to start here. When Dr. Edney publicly called this a public health emergency in Mississippi, is that something that you co-sign on? Was that something that you found a bit surprising? Where are you on this?
You know, I think we all know intuitively day to day that, this is and has been a public health emergency for Mississippi and for really the southern states for many years, if not many decades. We have not done well in this area. So to say we were surprised, maybe the abruptness of it, but as far as the need to focus on this area, no, it's not surprising at all.
Yeah, I would agree, Dr. Tucker. Maternal mortality rates have been in excess of the national average for many years, and that's something we are acutely aware of at UMMC. We have the highest preterm birth rates in the country. So all of this, is the melting pot for growing rates of infant mortality. And so, no, this is unfortunately not a surprise, but a sense of urgency and a declaration and a commitment to improving health for all of Mississippians.
So let's try to kind of peel back the layers on this. We know, Dr. Tucker, about diabetes rates in Mississippi. We know about heart disease rates in Mississippi. We know that general health outcomes in Mississippi are not what anybody wants them to be or what they need to be. Is this conversation about infant mortality rates tied directly to that we have unhealthy people, unhealthy mothers across the state that is leading to this, or is there more to it?
I think you're spot on with that. I think that those things that you pointed out, diabetes, hypertension, mental health issues, those things all spill over into pregnancy. And so in a pregnant patient, we identify those as comorbidities that complicate a pregnancy. Those things lead to other things. They are tied, I think, directly and certainly at a minimum indirectly to these things that we're talking about: infant mortality rates, neonatal mortality rates, maternal morbidity rates, maternal mortality rates. All of those things, I think, are tied to these background issues that we suffer in Mississippi amongst all of our patients, especially our pregnant patients.
So, Dr. Morris, when we're talking about health outcomes in Mississippi and the fact that that is an area where we've got work to do, how do we go about changing that? And I know that's the $1 million question, right? We talk about, hey, how do we make health outcomes in Mississippi better? And it's something that lots of people have tried, lots of organizations have attempted in different ways. But from your perspective, where you're dealing specifically with mothers and with infants on a day-to-day basis. What's a when I say what's a solution, I don't mean, hey, do we have a silver bullet? But I mean, if we're talking about incremental improvement, what does that look like?
That is indeed the million-dollar question. I think that it begins with education of all. You know, we have, it's not a surprise, we have access to care issues, very vulnerable population. And so improving access sites, improving outreach, improving education, increasing our telehealth availability. You know, at the University of Mississippi Medical Center, we have maternal-fetal medicine specialists. Again, we're the only academic medical center where we have high-risk care. We serve as the referral center for the community, for transfers for both maternal and neonatal high-risk situations. So improving that process, again, increasing education, standardizing care for all of our vulnerable patients across the state, bolstering the system. I think we need to understand some of the infant mortality data a little bit more to really understand what is driving these numbers so high. Is it really the very premature infants? I suspect yes, but why? I don't think we know that answer yet. So I do think that there are many approaches. I am donning my STORK jacket today as one potential silver bullet for something I've been a part of, and we can talk about that later. But that's another huge program that the University of Mississippi Medical Center offers to try and help improve these numbers and really get at maternal mortality and neonatal infant morbidity and mortality as well.
Yeah, I do want to get into the STORK program. One more question before we do that, and I'm just curious if maybe one of the reasons that we see some of these rates has to do with teenage pregnancy and women who are not necessarily maybe mentally ready to be mothers. Obviously, you can have health issues with mothers at any age and kind of in any stage of life. But we see so much teenage pregnancy in Mississippi that is unplanned pregnancy. Dr. Tucker, is that part of what we're seeing? Is that you have young mothers-to-be who are not ready physically, mentally, emotionally, and therefore maybe don't know as much how to care for themselves during a pregnancy?
Historically, teenage pregnancies, especially unplanned teenage pregnancies, have been a major part of these problems. Ironically, over the last decade, our teenage pregnancy rates are down. But what we've traded that for is we are seeing more older moms having babies. And so certainly some of the things that you pointed out as far as young mothers having babies, maybe not being prepared mentally, physically, or otherwise, the older moms tend to have more of the comorbidities that we talked about earlier. So despite the fact that our teenage pregnancy rates have improved, these numbers continue to stay flat, or in the case of infant mortality, have ticked up over the last 10 years.
When you say older mothers, what are we talking about? I know that traditionally, once a woman is in her mid to late 30s, people consider that to be older in terms of childbearing age, and yet we see so many women who are waiting longer, maybe even into their 40s. Is there a definitive number or spot on the age spectrum where we go, okay, this constitutes an older pregnancy?
We don't have a number per se where one can say that, okay, at this age you shouldn't have a baby, or you're going to have major morbidity or mortality. By definition, we have used the age 35 as the definition of what we call advanced maternal age. But exactly as you say, we see moms into their late 30s, early 40s, sometimes mid-40s, on rare occasions late 40s. And just statistically, as a mom grows older, her risk of something bad happening during the pregnancy, whether it be high blood pressure or diabetes or preterm birth or bleeding problems or increased risk of cesarean deliveries, those things all go up statistically as one gets older. We have to factor in other things, the comorbidities. Do they have diabetes, hypertension, other issues? What's their obstetrical history? Someone who's had a good obstetrical history, they've had 2, maybe 3 uncomplicated pregnancies between the ages of 25 and 35, and now they're having a baby at 37, their odds of having a successful pregnancy are higher because of that good obstetrical history. So statistically, these risks go up, but certainly you have to individualize each pregnancy.
Dr. Morris, what do you say to a woman who says, I know I am older in terms of birthing age, but I'm ready. I want to have a child. Is it about just making them aware of risks, or do you have to coach them almost against that sometimes?
Absolutely. So when we meet with patients that, whether it's age or any other comorbidities for that matter, it's an individualized discussion about risk. Ultimately, it's my job to present them with the things that we know can complicate pregnancy and the concerns that we have, and address the things that we can do to mitigate those risks, whether it's taking aspirin in pregnancy, again, to lower their risk of developing preeclampsia, other baseline assessments that can be done to evaluate how well their heart functions, screen early for diabetes to decrease their risks of having birth anomalies or other complications. So it's a hard conversation. It's ultimately up to the patients with how they proceed, but certainly a commitment to their care and and their family's development, and just a real honest discussion about the risks that they face so they can make an informed decision.
Visiting with Doctors Martin Tucker and Rachael Morris from UMMC, talking about infant mortality rates and maternal health. We'll talk about the STORK program on the other side of this break. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
From the SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Sweet Jane, sweet, sweet Jane.
Pleasure to be with you this morning. It is Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi. Dr. Martin Tucker served as the 72nd president of the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists. That was back in 21-22. Dr. Rachael Morris leads a STORK training team that educates first responders around the state on how to care for mothers and babies in emergencies. She is a maternal-fetal specialist. I hope you will forgive just a question that is genuine curiosity. Having been in the birth suite, I guess is what we call it, for the birth of all 3 of my children, I will never forget the feeling of seeing our 2 daughters and our son for the very first time, and witnessing that process, what it's like with the medical staff, what my wife was going through, and this miracle of life. And I don't know how you describe it as anything other than a miracle. I'm sure there are more scientific medical terms. When you do something over and over and over, sometimes in life it can become mundane or it can become routine. In your world, where, using my words, not yours, you are on a daily basis and sometimes a multiple times daily basis observing miracles. Do you still feel, is there still a special feeling? Is there still a powerful moment that you experience as a physician during that time, during that birth process?
Absolutely. I remember the first baby I delivered and every baby that I assist at this point in my career are only the high-risk ones, but nevertheless, an amazing experience. It is a journey for many of these women to get to achieve a pregnancy, to battle through whatever they have endured for many, many weeks and months, and then to see the life created and in sickness and in health. It is a once in a lifetime. It is a remarkable experience to be a part of that journey for these families.
Yeah, and Richard, I think you're spot on. It is a miracle of birth, a miracle of life. I mean, each birth is a miracle, and sometimes, especially at 2 a.m, it's sometimes a little tough to appreciate that miracle of birth. But what I've tried to not lose sight of is that this is the moment for that couple. This is the moment for Mr. and Mrs. Richard Cross. It's a moment for Mrs. Smith. It's that person's moment, and never lose sight of that, because it's their miracle, and it's a privilege, as an obstetrician, to be able to participate, to be part of that miracle and that special moment.
I think about the difference of the role that you play as physicians compared to some others, whether you're talking about a neurologist or an ophthalmologist or whatever specialty. When they are caring for a patient, they are singularly focused on the care for that one patient. Maybe it's an orthopedic surgeon who's dealing with a knee replacement or a hip replacement or a Tommy John surgery or whatever, and it's just that patient. But in obstetrics and gynecology, when you're talking about childbirth, you have two very different patients that have to be cared for at the exact same time. And I'm curious how you kind of split your focus within that delivery room.
I think it is really important to understand that, and this is something I teach in STORK, that maternal health and well-being has to be a priority, that when you do well and make good decisions for maternal stability, especially in an emergency, then everyone wins. Our most delicate discussions are in the setting of complications, where sometimes, like preeclampsia, for example, the treatment for the mother is delivery, but unfortunately, early delivery for the preterm infant now opens that infant up to a whole host of potential complications and morbidity and even mortality. But again, so this can be very delicate sometimes, but even in the setting of emergencies, you can remain pretty laser focused on how to successfully care for the two of them together.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about this STORK program. You've mentioned it a couple of times, Dr. Morris. Educating first responders about kind of across the state of Mississippi about how to care for both mothers and babies in emergencies. Maybe let's start with kind of where this began and how there became such a need for this particular area, and when it was recognized, like, hey, we need to make sure that people understand what they need to do in certain situations.
The idea came out of the Mississippi Center for Emergency Services under the Department of Emergency Medicine. Prior to 2021, we were noticing higher rates of obviously growing infant and maternal mortality even then, and unfortunately poor transfer outcomes. And you combat that also with pretty critical closures of hospitals across the state. There was a growing need for stabilization and improvement of these transfers and rural hospitals with respect to obstetric emergency. So it was that created the need. So in 2021, we received our first grant cycle through the W.K. Kellogg Foundation. We are currently on our third cycle, and we've also received support from the Bauer Foundation. But it was created to teach rural healthcare providers, again, the skills needed to take care of regular obstetric occurrences, so like a vaginal delivery, but also the life-threatening emergencies that occur on a daily basis in places where they're not supposed to happen. So places without formal obstetric and neonatal teams. Again, the simulation and educational component's about 4 hours. And so we use hands-on, high-fidelity, on-site simulation, which is really cool. And so it really walks the emergency responder, whether it's EMS, nursing staff, ER physicians, just really anyone, to equip them with basic education and understanding of the things that we face in obstetrics and prepare them for prenatal, postnatal, and neonatal emergency. The STORK program also provides a pretty fancy skills bag with all the equipment for delivery and the things you need to get through a delivery, as well as the critical components of neonatal resuscitation. We also have bags for our EMS folks who are delivering at the house or on the side of the road. Again, same thing. Again, preparing them for success.
You know, it's so interesting hearing you think about that. I feel like everybody that has watched any sort of a medical television drama, there's always a storyline about a mother that doesn't make it to the hospital, or the dad who's like, "Oh, your water can't break. We're still in the car." And I'm curious with first responders, where is the line between, okay, we've got to get to the hospital, we've got to get to an operating room, versus, you know what, this isn't going to wait. We've got to do this here as safely as we possibly can.
We actually talk about that specifically in the STORK training, because at some points it is when you talk about transfer, maternal transfer, that actually creates a level of morbidity and makes the transfer higher risk when you try and do things in an ambulance, which is a much smaller facility and it's moving, versus just hunkering down and taking care of what you need to do there, and then asking for help and neonatal transport to come and assist you at your current location. So there is a point of no return, specifically, if you will, when you talk about a delivery. A lot of transfers can occur even when the mother is very, very dilated. But again, it's certainly something to teach the basics and to help these first responders understand what is at risk if you move. But you have to understand, really kind of a baseline as to what do you have, what are you dealing with, and how far do you need to go? And, what are the conditions outside and around you? And what kind of access do you need to make this outcome better? So all of that really weighs in. It's a pretty difficult decision, actually, that these folks are facing.
Dr. Tucker, last thing, I'll kind of give you the final word, and this may seem like an odd question, but there are some mothers who choose to have their children at home. As opposed to being, in a medical setting. I'm assuming that you would recommend a medical setting if they are open to that idea at all. What's the coaching like for a mother, though, who makes that very personal decision and says, "Hey, this is going to happen in my home"?
Yeah, So to answer your first question first, yes, I would recommend that they deliver in a medical setting. But as you point out, there are some women who choose alternatives, home birth being one alternative. We do know that there are
only 30 seconds left. I apologize.
Yeah, okay. Quick stat. There are risks associated with home birth, specifically risk to the baby, and so we sit down, we talk through all these risks, benefits, complications, and ultimately that's an individual decision for that particular patient.
Doctors Martin Tucker and Rachael Morris, thanks so much. A really interesting conversation this morning. Appreciate your time, continued success, and continued good work to both of you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. We're back after this.
From the Venable...
Thanks to Dr. J. Martin Tucker and Dr. Rachael Morris for joining me in studio this morning. Interesting topics with them about maternal mortality and infant mortality as well. Some of the good things that are happening to help improve those numbers here in the state of Mississippi. Man, the jobs that they have on a daily basis for both the routine / mundane, but then also the ultra stressful and the high risk scenarios as well. Such an incredible responsibility and really an incredible mission as well. When you choose that lane of medicine in particular. Richard Cross, Lance Tolbert with you. Good morning to you. 8 o'clock hour is on the way. We're going to play for you in the 8 o'clock hour. When I was going through some of those clips from yesterday, we did not get to Erica Kirk, the wife of the late Charlie Kirk, who is now the CEO of Turning Point USA. And I cannot imagine the range of emotions over the last 12 days for her. It's one of the things that she talked about yesterday, from shock and anger and sadness and just being completely overwhelmed to speaking in the way that she did and the way that she has over the last few days, and what lies ahead, the responsibility that she is taking on moving into this role. She has her primary role, and the Kirks have talked about this openly, was to be the mother of their two children and to take care of the home. And it was a role that she relished, and through no choice of her own has been thrust into a spotlight and seems to be willing to take up that mantle to try to carry on the mission of Charlie Jones. It's a mission for Charlie Jones that has been characterized in a lot of different ways. Van Jones on CNN, I think this was on Friday. It was either Thursday night or Friday night. He was on with Anderson Cooper and said that he had been sitting on this story for a few days but felt like he couldn't sit on it anymore. There was, I guess no love lost would be the way to describe it. Certainly, Van Jones makes it clear that there was no friendship that existed between himself and Charlie Kirk, but something happened before Charlie Kirk was murdered that Van Jones didn't know about until after it happened. Take a listen.
The story begins when a Ukrainian woman was fatally stabbed last month in North Carolina. The suspect is a black man, and Charlie Kirk and Van got into a public sparring match online. Kirk claimed the murder happened because she was white. Van denounced that as completely unfounded. Kirk then sent out what Van calls a fire hose of tweets challenging his argument, which Van says sparked death threats against him. In the midst of all of this, Kirk reached out to Van in a direct message on X. Hey, Van, I mean it. I'd love to have you on my show to have a respectful conversation about crime and race. I would be a gentleman, as I know you would be as well. We can disagree about the issues agreeably. Now, that message was sent on September 9th. Van says he did not see it until the very next day after Kirk was murdered. Van Jones just wrote a piece about this for CNN.com and is here tonight. This is extraordinary. So this was received the day before he was killed.
Yeah. Look, we were beefing. We were going at it online, on air. And then after he died, after he was murdered, my team called and said, Van, he was trying to reach you, man. What? And what was he doing? Dialogue. Let's be gentlemen together. He says, let's disagree agreeably. So I'm sitting on this, and I'm watching the whole country talk about civil war, censorship, justifying murder, about this guy? This guy is reaching out to his mortal enemy, saying, we need to be gentlemen, sit down together, and disagree agreeably. And the next day he's killed. And I've sat on it long enough, and I just said, you know what? We're going to Memorial Weekend for this man. We disagree. Everybody knows. We were not friends, okay? At all. But you praise the good when it's time to memorialize somebody. And what he did, and I didn't even know it, was good. He was not for censorship. He was not for civil war. He was not for violence. He was for dialogue, open debate and dialogue, even with me. Even with me.
So Van Jones and Charlie Kirk, two people that see the world through a very different lens. So interesting to me that Charlie Kirk sent that message to Van Jones on the 9th of September. If you've ever gotten a DM and you don't have notifications turned on your phone, sometimes you go a day or two or a week or two and not realize, oh, somebody sent me a message. It sounds like that's what happened with Van Jones. Either that or somebody else was handling his X account. Can you imagine after such a public death from someone realizing, oh, He sent me a message yesterday while he was still here. And it was a message that said, hey, we disagree. We know that. Let's sit down and talk about it as gentlemen. That's the way that Charlie Kirk operated. Those were the conversations that he was seeking. 8 o'clock hour coming up next. Mornings with Richard Cross.
Good morning to you there.
Okay, up and at 'em. Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome again to Mornings with Richard Cross, 8 o'clock hour. Thank you for joining us to start this day alongside Lance Talbert. I'm Richard Cross. Thanks for being with us this morning. The C Spire text line is open, 601-879-4395. Your team has you covered on the field. C Spire has you covered everywhere else with best technology for home, work, and on the go, backed by local 24/7 customer support. Learn more at cspire.com. C-Spire, inspired by you. There are, we get kind of a busy week on the horizon. A few things to tell you about that are coming up. This past Friday night in Oxford, Ratchet Entertainment Group began its series of football Friday night concerts. It got started with Freedom Fest at the Powerhouse this past weekend. This coming Friday night, the night before Ole Miss takes on LSU, experience Oxford's ultimate Friday night throwdown with the 5-star Funk Lounge at the Lyric. And then on Friday, October 31st, Halloween night, on the eve of Ole Miss in South Carolina, the Molly Ringwalds return to the Lyric. They'll take you on a wild ride through the biggest hits of the 80s. Get your tickets now at OleMissConcerts.com. It's OleMissConcerts.com. On Wednesday of this week, middays with Gerard Gibbert and Sports Talk Mississippi will be live in New Albany to kick off the Tallahatchie River Festival. Tallahatchie River Fest presented by B&A Bank, Ace Fiber, and Renaissance Bank. For more info, go to NewAlbanyMainStreet.com. This project is partially funded by a grant through Visit Mississippi. And on Thursday, Sports Talk Mississippi will be at Scruggs Farm, Lawn, and Garden in Saltillo. You can take advantage of their end-of-season sales. 0% financing for 72 months on John Deere compact tractors. 2.5% financing for 48 months on Gators, 0% for 24 months on commercial mowers. That is one cool place. Scruggs Farm, Lawn, and Garden in Saltillo, right across from the mall at Barnes Crossing, just on the edge of Tupelo and Saltillo. You ever been inside Scruggs?
Oh, yeah. Been a while. That place is Candyland.
Huge. They got everything.
Y'all did a remote there a few years ago, if I remember, with Sports Talk.
It was last year.
It was last year,
All three of us were there, yeah.
I was like, man, those guys got it made.
Yeah, it was cool. And Borky and Haydad have been back a couple of times since then. That was my first experience with the battery-powered zero-turn mower.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm a zero-turn mower guy. I have been for a long time. But with, big gas-guzzling, oil-needed engines. And I was like, well, now this is something. I was intrigued, no doubt.
You haven't seen them all over yet.
No,
it's not like the landscaping crews don't have them. So I think that's one of the drawbacks. But once you start seeing those guys with a trailer full of those battery-powered zeros, everybody's going to have them.
Well, I mean, you think about it, Lance. I never would have imagined seeing battery-powered string trimmers and edgers and chainsaws and pole saws. Like, they're everywhere now. There are a lot of people, especially for residential applications.
That's the only way to roll now.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not dealing with acreage.
I've been a little slow to the party on that. I think it's hard if you've worked in commercial landscaping to switch over to residential grade equipment.
Yeah, I'm sure.
You know, it's like if you've been running a Steel or a Husqvarna chainsaw, it's hard to switch over to one that you buy in a box at a big box store.
Yeah.
I'm not going to throw any brand under the bus. I just think that's a hard transition. You know, if you've been cutting grass on a John Deere, Exmark, Grasshopper, Skag, Bad Boy, zero-turn mower that is built for commercial grass cutting, it's hard to get on a small lawn tractor or even a residential grade zero-turn. You're like, this doesn't feel as stout as it needs to feel. What's going on?
Moving too slow. Got to make money.
That's right.
Got to get to the next place.
So check out all of that. All right, I mentioned I wanted to play this for you. It's a couple of minutes long, but man, is it deserved. Erica Kirk with a strength that is hard to imagine. Stepped to the microphone yesterday. She took her time. In fact, before she stepped to the microphone, she stood there, looked out at the crowd, looked down at her hands, looked to the sky. It appeared as if she said a silent prayer to herself and then looked heavenward and said to her late husband, Charlie, I love you, Charlie. And then she stepped to the microphone with a level of courage to deliver a message, choking back tears, holding back as best she could, and yet somehow got through it. And then there was a point in her speech where the whole thing went to a different place. This was yesterday during Charlie Kirk's memorial service. Erica Kirk.
My husband, Charlie, he wanted to save young men just like the one who took his life. That young man on the cross, our Savior said, Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do. That man, that young man, I forgive him. I forgive him because it was what Christ did and is what Charlie would do. The answer to hate is not hate. The answer we know from the gospel is love, and always love. Love for our enemies and love for those who persecute us.
Erica Kirk, yesterday at her husband's memorial service. Wow, man. Courage, strength, poise, grace, dignity. So many ways you could describe the way she delivered that message yesterday. And then that line at the end, which was so very biblical in nature, but also had a tinge of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in what she said. You know, you can't hate. Hate doesn't drive away hate. It's love that drives away hate. In the same way or similarly that Dr. King, and I'm paraphrasing here, talk about darkness not being able to drive away darkness. It's only light that can drive away darkness. And what a moment for her to stand there with the world watching and to fight through her tears and the sniffles and have the strength and the courage to stand there and honor her late husband's memory and talk about the special relationship that they had together, the things that were special about their marriage and, you know, little cute stories and the responsibility of raising their children and the responsibility of carrying the mantle that Charlie left behind when he was killed at the age of 31. And then to say, because this is what Jesus did when he was on the cross, and this is what Charlie would have done, whispers, but very much in an audible tone, this young man, I forgive him. Wow. Wow. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi. We'll take a timeout. Got about 45 minutes left with you. JT Mitchell will be along at the bottom of the hour, about 15 minutes from right now. Thanks for joining us on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
From the Venable Glass.
Wake up! Rise and shine!
Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross.
Nice early morning surprise.
On SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Glad to be with you this morning. Thanks for joining us. C-Spire text line open, 601-879-4395, 601-879-4395. Somebody said if you were going to go with the commercial battery-powered mowers, you'd have to also have a trailer full of batteries. I guess so, Lance.
Yeah, you'd have to have a second trailer. Right.
Yeah.
Or a battery bank on there or something.
Mose wants us to get the ZD Series diesel zero-turn mowers.
Diesel, huh?
Brother, you put a diesel engine on a lawnmower and you got a horse.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, that's for racing.
You also got to write a check for that.
Sounds like a racing lawnmower.
Mm-hmm. Those gas burners have been pretty good. Pretty good to us through the years.
Yeah, you go with the non-ethanol, right? I mean, 100% gas?
Generally, yes. Especially if it's not like a day where we're going to burn through. Like, I mean...
Yeah, you don't want it sitting, in other words.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there were days when we were, like, cutting a lot of grass in Clarksdale where, we were filling up both mowers first thing in the morning and filling up half a dozen 5-gallon gas tanks. Either that or we'd have to go back to, from sun up until well after dark, just going nonstop. And I didn't think it made as much difference then. Like if you were just burning it straight through. But if it's going to sit up at all, you want that pure gas. Or put some stable in it. That seems to help.
Yeah, good stuff there.
It is. It certainly is.
Or get good at, cleaning out carbs, right?
Yeah. Which I am not.
Yeah.
And that is not cheap to get done, by the way, at the small engine shop anymore.
No. And I got a friend here in the building that is a genius, basically, with fixing anything. And he works on cars and such, but I've watched him take apart carburetors and just, in no time flat. They're rebuilt, and you're like, man, you are a genius, dude. You could be printing money doing this stuff.
Yeah.
And just does it on the side. But, yeah, it's amazing. That mind that works that way. Oh.
Yeah. Jason in Starkville says, no, you would need a generator to charge the batteries, you silly gooses.
Yeah, so
Jason,
you need a battery
have
bank.
enough batteries to keep the mower running while the generator's charging the battery, you silly goose.
You'd have to mount the generator on the front of your trailer and then let it sit there and charge batteries all day.
Yeah. And then you got to go buy fuel for the generator to power. Can you get a battery-powered generator too, Jason?
Yeah, get a battery-powered generator that hooks into your, your Cyber truck.
Well, you put solar panels on the roof of your truck, and I don't know. We just made this more complicated.
Sounds like a lot of investment.
All right, a lot of talk this morning about Charlie Kirk. Let's get to another topic as well. Congress is moving head first toward a government shutdown. Oh, have we made it to that time of year? We avoided one. Now we got another. That's about the right time. Before we get to the holiday season, before Halloween, before Thanksgiving, before Christmas and New Year's, we've got to go and celebrate the time of year. The government shutdown. The Senate voted down a pair of stopgap spending bills, including a clean one proposed by the GOP to keep the lights on for 7 weeks while appropriators hammer out a longer-term deal. The Hill.com, says there are some things that we need to look at and we need to ask questions about. Number one, how long will Democrats hold out? They've made it abundantly clear that they have zero interest in backing the GOP's clean stopgap bill without alterations on a number of fronts. And Republicans say no to those alterations. They say they are non-starters. Democrats are demanding the deal at least included talks on extending Affordable Care Act subsidies set to expire at the end of December. If we go back to the month of March, we've got Chuck E. Schumer, the minority leader of the Senate, saying that he was shocked by backing the GOP-led spending bill, but he came under enormous criticism, and he's shown few signs of caving this time. Says the situation is much different now because of the rising unpopularity of the GOP's tax and spending bill, because of unity among Democrats and actions by the Trump administration on rescissions. Democrats unified, he says. Also, we are looking for consistency within Republican messaging, according to The Hill. John Thune is the Senate Majority Leader, Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House. They've staked out a clear-cut message in the weeks leading up to the deadline. They say take our clean continuing resolution or risk shutting it down. They have been consistent so far. Will they remain so? John on the C Spire text line. So the big, beautiful bill that was supposed to be a complete budget for fiscal year 26 was just another continuing resolution? John, I don't remember us or anyone claiming that that was a complete budget for fiscal year 26. There's a lot in the one big, beautiful bill that doesn't even start until 26. We always talked about that as a continuing resolution.
Yeah, they had the bill that was the temporary stopgap before the triple B, the big, beautiful bill. Then you had it, which was the omnibus package, knowing that we were going to have to deal with this again in September. That was right before the big, beautiful bill, if I recall, was the stopgap measure. Right. Yeah.
John Thune says the choice is pretty clear. It's going to be funding the government through a clean, short-term continuing resolution or a government shutdown. Okay? That's what he says it's going to be. The Hill points out that one of the things we have to watch is the blame game. He says history has not been kind to Republicans when it comes to government shutdowns. Nearly 7 years ago, Trump and the GOP drove the political world into the longest shutdown in U.S. history. It went 35 days over their insistent that funds to build the border wall be included in the funding package. Their effort proved unsuccessful, with Trump being forced to reopen the government when the lack of air traffic controllers prompted significant flight cancellations and delays. 2013, Ted Cruz and other conservatives caused a shutdown that lasted more than 2 weeks, trying to defund the Affordable Care Act. This time, Republicans think that they can flip the script. John Thune said the times we've won, the Democrats are trying to add something. They're trying to add all this partisan stuff. Okay. Is there room to maneuver on Affordable Care Act credits, asks The Hill in this story. Both John Thune and Mike Johnson have maintained that a fix is off the table in this negotiation and that they want to keep the continuing resolution as clean as possible. Tom Tillis, the Republican from North Carolina who is retiring next year, is among those on the right who believe a fix of some sort is needed before December 31st. Among the ideas, a bipartisan solution that could be paired with a full-year funding bill later that could be inked in late November when the continuing resolution from the GOP ends. John Thune did say, I think that the Affordable Care Act subsidies will be an issue that will be addressed, but I think right now we got to keep the government open so we can do appropriations bills and work on that. And then the final question that The Hill asks, what should we be watching? And their final thing is how Trump handles the days leading up to September 30th, the shutdown deadline. They write that the president has largely given John Thune and Mike Johnson room to operate in a bid to get the 7-week continuing resolution across the finish line. But if he gets antsy or things go in a direction that he does not like, he could always throw around his weight on a spending matter. Like in 2018 when he initially caved and accepted a spending bill that did not include border wall funds, only to reverse course after pressure from conservatives. That's what led to that 35-day shutdown. But Trump for now is blaming Democrats for what may be coming down the rails. He says you could very well end up with a closed country for a period of time. That is what Donald Trump said to reporters on Friday. Comes down to this, right? Forgive me for oversimplifying. But the two sides have to figure out who is going to be blamed and who will bear the brunt of the frustration of the American people in the midterms. It's that simple. The midterm elections that we are now 13 and a half months away from, I would argue the most consequential midterms of our lifetime. If Republicans hold the majority in the House and the Senate, there is an opportunity for the final 2 years of Donald Trump's presidency to be very, very significant. They lose the majority, it's going to be nasty. We'll be back.
From the Seabrook.
Pleasure to be with you. A little less than half an hour remaining on this Monday edition of Mornings with Richard Cross, 22nd of September. The autumnal equinox officially 1:19 p.m. today. We will transition into fall. JT Mitchell joins me this morning. He's the news director with the SuperTalk Mississippi news team, and JT is desperately searching. If you have any information about a story in which a firefighter pulls out his trusty ladder, leans it into a tree, and saves a cat, JT would like to cover that story. Just good, wholesome Americana, because, JT, it has been a tough, heavy, hard couple of weeks.
And I am a cat guy, Richard. I don't know if you knew that about me. Come on now.
Can we just rewind and pretend like you didn't say that?
No. I will go to the gates of hell for cats. Cats are superior animals. I mean, they're self-sustaining. They're independent. They're born and immediately know how to use a litter box. Explain that one to me.
When's the last time a dog walked across the hood of your truck and left those stupid little footprints on it?
Well, when's the last time I had to take a cat out at 4:30 in the morning to use the bathroom when it's winter?
Touche.
I mind that Butterscotch demands it, so he's definitely, he wants out at about 2 a.m. and he will meow until you let him out.
Oh, we have an inside cat.
Yeah, well, both of mine they think that they're inside cats. They really only come in to eat and go to the bathroom, and then they go hang out.
Well, she was from the sewer.
Cool.
She was a street cat, but then she got spoiled once coming inside, and now she has no interest of going back out on the streets.
Yeah. We get a message on the C Spire text line that says, I used to like JT.
Oh, come on now.
Gotta feel the same way.
Come on.
My point was that would be a nice, wholesome, easy story as opposed to what the last couple of weeks have been like. Man, tough stuff.
Yeah, Richard, really the last 12 days, obviously you had Charlie Kirk's murder. You had the Delta State student Trey Reed found on campus hanging from a tree. It's been one of the harshest news cycles that I can remember. Honestly, 2020 was a harsh news cycle, but it was more hectic rather than harsh. Yeah. Because we were just juggling every ball imaginable. I mean, in 2020, you, of course, had everything with George Floyd. You had the global protest period, and not to mention a global pandemic on top of it. You had a legislative session suspended. They came back in May. They decided to change the state flag, talk about medical marijuana. I mean, 2020 was hectic. But the last 12 days have been harsh.
Yeah. I certainly am not going to ask you to editorialize on this. I think I did that probably enough for all of us on Thursday. But this awful story about Trey Reed and his suicide at Delta State felt like just that. It felt like an awful, tragic, sad story. And then with the help of our congressman, if you live in District 2 anyway, Benny Thompson, he just took a big old gas can labeled race bait and threw it right in the middle of this story and then threw a match on it. And I can't find any possible way that was helpful in what was pretty clear from the outset that it was not what he was purporting it to be.
And Congressman Thompson did call for a federal investigation, which is now looking like it will happen. Everything has been turned over to the FBI.
Yeah.
More so, what I thought was the can of gasoline. It was the people on TikTok. One specifically, I won't call out usernames, but somebody who got on there and said a lot of misinformation, including that they were related to Trey Reed. Now, I've gotten reports that was a lie. I have talked to people who I trust who said, yeah, that person had to apologize. They are not related to Trey Reed. They did it for this so-called clout and made a really bad situation a whole lot worse.
Yeah, and had to put the president at Delta State on the defensive and come out and say, look, I've been in contact with the family, as was directed by Trey Reed on his student enrollment form. We have contacted the next of kin, and we are continuing to do so. And it was just like, we've taken a tragic situation and made it infinitely worse.
Yeah, and this is, of course, tragic for Trey Reed. Yeah. And for the people he left behind. It's also a really bad situation for every party involved. You mentioned the president, Dr. Dan Ennis. I feel for him as well. I mean, he explained during the second press conference last week because he had to address all the rumors that were circulating online. Yeah. He explained and said, look, guys, what I did was I did what every American university would do. Every university in America would do it like this. When students enroll at my university, they fill out a form, and there's a question on there that says, in the case of an emergency, who do you want us to contact? Trey Reed listed 2 people. Those were the 2 people Dr. Ennis said he spoke to nearly immediately after his body was found and identified, and then throughout the week, and he says he remains in frequent contact with them, and he also apologized to the family members, in which an attorney, Vanessa Jones, had a press conference and said Dr. Ennis has not called them. He said, well, I talked to the two people that he told us to talk to, and out of respect for him and his life, that's what I'm going to keep doing.
Sure. We do have one good story. The Jackson State women's tennis team has just won a national championship. Their 24th, it was at the 24th annual HBCU Tennis National Championships, bringing home the hardware. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and of course football is the talk of the town. Don't get me wrong, but we need to tout other sports when we can, and this is a prime opportunity to do so. Over the weekend, the Jackson State women's tennis team, they were competing in the HBCU National Championships over in Atlanta, and they smoked everyone. I mean, their final score in the standings was 122. Second place had 71.
Hey-o.
And so they won the HBCU national title. And really, when I was writing this...
When it comes to returning money to Mississippians, Treasurer...
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Well, I was like, what did I do?
Yeah, no, it was... I had our website up, and there was an autoplay.
Well, David McRae.
Thanks, David McRae.
Hijacking the news segment.
Not his fault.
Hey, there are some good news stories on David McRae's office and unclaimed money at supertalk.fm, so go read those. But back to Jackson State. You know, when I was writing this story this morning, Richard, you see I don't miss a beat. But when I was writing this story this morning, I really started thinking about the JSU athletic department as a whole. What an incredible stretch it has been for Ashley Robinson and all the good folks up there at JSU. I mean, you had the win in the Celebration Bowl last year for the football team. Now you have a tennis national championship. I can't even count how many SWAC championships all the sports have had over on two hands. So great job, JSU.
No doubt. No doubt. JT mentioned football. We've got 3 big football games on campuses in Mississippi this weekend. Ole Miss hosting LSU, a top 15 matchup there with number 4 LSU, number 13 Ole Miss. Mississippi State in the receiving votes category. They were 2 outside of the top 25 in the AP voting. There were some that pointed to, hold on a second. You got Arizona State ranked. Mississippi State beat Arizona State. The math ain't mathin'. Kind of the way some people looked at it.
It ain't mathin' at all, I'll tell you that. Whether State deserves to be ranked or not up to me. I will say that they should be higher than Arizona State. Number one, they won that game. And number two, I think...
By the way, that would be in the coaches' poll. The AP poll does have Mississippi State ahead of Arizona State in terms of the rankings.
But you don't like the AP poll?
I think there are silly people that are involved with the AP poll.
And, hey, good clarification, though. Mississippi State, Brian Haydad pointed out that they are the first SEC team to start 4-0 and not be ranked by the AP poll since Missouri in 2013.
Okay. Missouri went to the SEC championship game that year, so congrats.
So we'll see. Is State going to make it to the SEC championship? Is that what I hear Richard Cross saying?
No, I just pointed out what happened in 2013. If they do, that'd be quite the accomplishment. Certainly would be a story around here. We'll have a little bit more with JT Mitchell when we wrap things up. Richard Cross, Lance Tolbert, JT, mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
back in the bright part of town. I'll be back in the high life again. All the doors I closed one time will open.
Good to be with you. It is Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi, alongside Lance Talbert and JT Mitchell. I'm Richard. Thanks for being with us. Lance, I was trying to do some research during the break. I need a magnifying glass to make sure that I got this right. You were talking about the AP poll. It appears that the delta between Ole Miss's highest ranking and lowest ranking is, I can't do the math. Their highest ranking is 8. I think I found either 2 or 3 people that had them ranked 8th. And the lowest appears to be 22. So, yeah, pretty good spread. But a week ago,
pretty wide berth there.
Yeah, I mean, a week ago you had, what was it, 4 people, either 4 or 5 that held Ole Miss unranked. Nicole Auerbach, Reese Davis, Cokie, whatever his name, Cokie Riley out of Baton Rouge, and then John Wilner from out on the West Coast. All of them had Ole Miss unranked last week. So there you go.
You know, the AP has also heard the criticism. I saw yesterday they posted on social media saying, if you think you can do better than our voters, here's your chance. And they opened a new poll where fans could weigh in. And now that's how you capitalize on criticism.
Somebody's got a good idea of how to make money.
Or you pick serious people to be involved with it.
Maybe our invites will come soon.
Maybe.
How do you get picked to do that?
I think there's a donation that they have a website.
Yeah. I don't even know what we're. Sorry, I was trying to read
on the
a
AP
series of
How do you get on the AP list? Is what the question was. If you want to be a voter, make a big donation.
Well, they probably ask you.
Richard, you're just distracted because I see you looking at the text line about how all these people are getting pretty angry now that I said I'm a cat person.
You never know what's going to hit. But
I mean,
any given day.
You've got to own that, not me.
Hey, Derek in Greenwood, he said JT with cat-like reflex. You see, I learned from the best.
Well, no, that was when you were transitioning from the David McRae pop-up ad.
Yeah, I live with a cat.
I feel like I need to be careful when I just randomly use the term transitioning.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He said transitioning.
I meant when you were transitioning from your story to the pop-up ad back to the story without missing a beat. And
I felt like Beavis and Butthead right there.
Thanks, Richard.
Oh, man. I don't know what we're talking about even.
We can talk about whatever you want. It's 10 days. Well, first off, it's the first day of fall. That's great news. It'll feel like fall come January. And then we're 10 days away from the state fair, though. I know you're excited about that, Richard.
Love a funnel cake.
Oh, yeah.
Love a Pronto Pup. Wait, is it Pronto Pups or corn dogs?
No, they're Pronto Pups.
Yeah. Okay, good.
That's the brand that they.
Yeah,
it's the black and
they're
gold.
The best. They're the best. I'm glad that is the case because Pronto Pups are the best corn dogs on the face of the earth. As long as they don't overcook them. Sometimes they get a little. The grease gets a little too hot, and then there's a problem. As long as they are cooked properly, it is the best batter, the best meal batter for a corn dog on planet Earth. I'll fight you over that.
Grease at the state fair? No.
No, it's that the grease gets too hot.
I understand. Hey, I did not realize until this morning that last year the Mississippi State Fair had over 500,000 people come to it.
I wonder how many biscuits they gave away.
Oh, man. Oh, the biscuit booth. You can't go wrong with that. That's what I do. That's
the first stop for me, the box of taffy and the biscuit booth.
The cheat code as a journalist is use your press pass to get in, get a free biscuit, and have a free trip at the State Fair. If you're out there listening, I promise I'll give you good promo, Mississippi State Fair officials. But no, it's going to be a big year. 10 days from now, you have a full slate of lineup. R&B artist Montel Jordan, This Is How We Do It. Christian contemporary artist Corey Asbury. Maddie and Tay, the country duo. Lee Greenwood, God Bless the USA, will be there. If you're not into music, they will, for the first time ever, have an X-Riders motocross event. so you can go watch some motorcycle guys get after it.
Is that going to be in the Coliseum, or do they have location for that? I just didn't know where they were going to handle that. That sounds awesome, though.
You going to go, Lance?
Oh, that a motocross event? I may have to make that.
Okay.
Give me a big turkey leg and
So all I know about the motocross event, I don't know where it is, but if you go to the State Fair on October 11th, you will be able to find it. They're going to be doing freestyle tricks on the motocross bikes. Should be pretty interesting. I mean, the whole State Fair is October 2nd through the 13th. You know, it really is a good time.
MSStatefair.com. Buy your tickets online. You can check out the concerts and the events and the sponsors and the livestock show lineup and the rodeo nights and all of the stuff. And, of course, JT Mitchell will write more about that between now and then.
That's
I'm
right.
sure Andy Gibson will be on with us again before the fair starts.
So if you want to read all about it, go to supertalk.fm.
Have a great Monday, fellas. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Richard.
Mornings with Richard Cross. We hope you have a great Monday as well. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.